DreAllDay.com.
Mastering the job. Now, the job is in quotation marks for a reason, so I'm going to explain exactly what that means. What we're talking here today is about understanding the key things that allow a professional to be a professional in the truest sense. And being a professional in the truest sense is always, you can write this one down, always outside of the purview of what the outside observer understands. It goes further and deeper than what the person on the outside looking in who's never been in the game. They don't actually know what we're talking about when we say a true professional in a specific profession. Now, you may know what a true professional is in what you do, but you may be completely ignorant of what that means in somebody else's profession. So what we're going to talk about here today are the things that the outsider doesn't know, doesn't even understand is happening, let alone can they appreciate it. But if you don't master it and you don't understand it and you don't do it and don't appreciate it yourself, you probably won't stay a pro in that particular line of work but for so long. So that's what we're going to discuss here today. That's how we're going to break it. That's how we're going to break this down. So let's get into it. Point number one, the topic once again is mastering the job. And again, the job is in quotation marks. Number one, what is the job? What do I mean when I say the job? It's a good question. Let's answer it. The job is all the stuff that the casual observer does not quite grasp nor understand, but it is the main reason why you are or can be the professional that you are. Should I say that one again? You need me to break that one down one more time? Let me break it down one more time. The job is all the stuff that the casual observer would not understand, does not even know about, let alone do they understand it. But it's the main reason why you are the professional that you are. See, most people don't understand what really makes a professional. They think what makes a professional is the fact that you have this talent or this ability, or because you got this license, or because you got XYZ degree. Those things all sound good, but those are not the real thing to make you a pro. In sports, for example, the fun part is the parts that everybody knows about. All right, what are the parts of being a professional athlete that you know about? If you never played a professional sport, you know. Playing in the games, getting the trophies, making money. All right, any of you who's never played a pro sport, but you watch pro sports, you know about that. Athletes have to play in games. You know that they compete, and if you compete and win, you get trophies. And you know that professional athletes make money. I mean, the fact they're called professional, you know they're making money. If you're a lawyer, for example, then what are the stuff that someone who's not a lawyer knows about? I'm not a lawyer, so what are the things I know about? I know that you probably have an office somewhere. I know that you probably do a ton of paperwork. I know you're probably pretty good at arguing. And I know that you understand the law on a pretty solid level. And you're continually reading about updates and changes to the law and new precedents being set in court cases and going to court and filing motions and et cetera, et cetera. I know those are some of the things that come with being a lawyer. Okay. Now, in professional sports, though, going back to that first example, the job of being a pro athlete is not the games, the trophies, and the money. That's not the job. Because if that was the job, I might still be playing professional sports right now. I might have just pivoted from basketball to a different sport. If all I had to do was play in the games, win trophies, and make money, I wouldn't be recording the show right now. Actually, maybe I would still have this show. But other than that, I wouldn't be doing anything else outside of just playing sports. I just play sports forever. So I physically couldn't do it anymore. If that's all it was. Let me tell you what the job is when you play sports. The job is all the trainings, not the games, the trainings, the off-season workouts, again, not the games, doing the same drills, the same warm-ups, the same routines over and over and over again, even when you don't feel like doing them. All with the threat of losing your job or your career hanging over your head if you don't keep it up. That's the job of being a pro athlete. Now, why is the threat of losing your job or career hanging over your head the whole time? Because as a pro athlete, for every one person who has a job, there are 1,000 people pining for the job that you have, and they would gladly take it from you if you give it up, or they get a chance to take it from you. You get a chance to beat you out for it. So every minute when you're a pro athlete and you are actively employed, there's a whole bunch of people trying to get the spot that you have. Which means all this training and all these workouts and all this other stuff that you have to do outside of the games, trophies, and money that you don't really feel like doing, you have to have the understanding, the conscious understanding that every minute you spend not doing it, somebody else is getting closer to taking your job because they will gladly do it. That's the job of being a pro athlete. And again, what's hanging over your head is people trying to take your spot. Now, let's say you're somebody like Beyonce. Now, Beyonce, everybody knows who she is, right? Now, people may think Beyonce's job is going on world tour, having 1 million people come show up and watch you perform, and you get to be all shiny and you have bright lights all shining on you and you're in the spotlight and you get to do your dances and singing and you got all these fans and you sell albums. People think that's the job of being Beyonce. That's part of the gig, but that ain't the job. Let me tell you what the job is. The job of being Beyonce, and if Beyonce is listening, you can tell me if I got this right or wrong, Beyonce. The actual job are all the hours that Beyonce and her team spend in the dance studio working on the choreography that's been given to them, learning the dance moves. If you've ever seen a Beyonce show, Beyonce doesn't just sit there and sing. She does not just stand at a mic singing. She's not Adele. What she does is she's doing coordinated dance moves with a whole team of dancers, and she'll jump in and out of the dance routine to join the team and not join the team and do her stuff. She knows every single step to all those moves. You think they just wake up out of bed like that? No, doesn't Beyonce have a song called that? I woke up like this? No, they don't wake up like that. She don't wake up like that. That's hours in the studio working on that shit. Beyonce too, the dancers and her. And she got the hardest job because the dancers just dance. All right, the backup singers just sing. Beyonce's dancing and singing at the same time with a mic clipped onto her while she's singing, and she can't be sounding like she's out of breath while she's doing all the dance moves, and she can't mess up the dance moves because that messes up the whole show, and nobody on the dance team can mess up the show. So you know how much they got to practice that to make sure nobody messes up in front of 20,000 people? Do you have any idea how much practice that takes? That's the job. That's the job. And that's the part they don't tell you about. Now, if you watch some Beyonce documentary, I'm sure they show it. They don't really show you all of it, because they shows you all of it, it'll actually be pretty fucking boring because they're doing the same shit every fucking day. I'm not even a singer. I have never done what Beyonce does, but I know what I know from being a professional at what I do, that most of what we do, especially performers, most of what we do is a whole bunch of rehearsal and training. It is not the performance and everybody watching us. That's not most of what we do. Most of what we do is behind the scenes shit that would be very boring to you if you had to watch it every time we did it. And anybody who is in a performance space, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if I got it wrong, you can let me know. I'm not wrong, but if you think I'm wrong, you can tell me and I'll tell you how I'm actually right and you're wrong. All right. All Beyonce is doing choreography, learning moves, recording 8 songs in the studio, not like in any of the 8 songs that she just recorded, then having to go re-record 8 new ones so she can find some songs that are actually good so they can go on her next album. All right, that's the job. In other words, the job is all the non-glamorous stuff that allows the glamorous stuff to occur. Everybody heard that? Should I say it again? The job, ladies and gentlemen, as a professional, is all the non-glamorous stuff that allows the glamorous stuff to occur. When I'm on social media, sometimes people leave a comment when I'm doing my live streams. Specifically, people say, man, are you a lawyer? Dre, you sound like a lawyer. You should have went to law school. You'd be a good lawyer. And people say that because I'm pretty good at putting together an argument and I'm articulate and I can make my case and I'll read somebody's comment who's disagreeing with me and I'll dismantle their nonsense argument and tell them why their argument is illogical, et cetera, et cetera. That's fun for me. It's like a sport to me. So people will hear me say something like that and they'll say you should have been a lawyer. The problem is that ain't what a lawyer does. People think being a lawyer is like Law and Order on TV or is like fucking Matlock. That's not what a lawyer, or Perry Mason. That's not what it is like to be a lawyer. Now, I'm not even a lawyer, but I know a lot of lawyers, and I know the majority of their work is filing motions, going to court dates where you're not actually in there going back and forth with the other lawyer. This is not like some movie, and you're not really arguing with people all day. All you're really doing is filing a bunch of fucking paperwork. That's what it is to be a lawyer. Being a lawyer is doing paperwork. Or having a bunch of people do paperwork for you, and then you got to show up and represent the paperwork and do hearings and motions and talk to judges and talk to prosecutors. And there's a whole lot of back and forth between you and other people, but it's not happening in public and it's not happening on camera. That shit ain't glamorous. See, a lot of people see me shut down somebody's bullshit from a comment while I'm doing a live stream and say, you should be a lawyer. Or why? They don't do that. That's not what they're doing. I get to do more of it on TikTok than they get to do in being actual lawyers. And if any lawyers listening to this, tell me if I got this right or wrong. That ain't the job. All right, so any of you understand the non-glamorous stuff that allows the glamorous stuff to occur, that's the job. And if you're not doing the grunt work, you can never get to the glamorous stuff that everybody will celebrate you for. Again, if you don't do the choreography, then Beyonce stops being Beyonce. All right, she starts falling over while she's doing her dance moves. She ain't Beyonce anymore. All right, now we got a whole different show. If LeBron James can't dunk anymore, then LeBron ain't LeBron. All right, things change. Okay? So anyone who is planning to enter a profession, you better find out what the job is in the context that I'm giving you here. Okay? Find out what the actual job is, not what it looks like on TV. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is mastering the job. Number 2, if you're going to be a professional at what you do, you must first understand what the job is in any industry you plan to get into. I just told you this. If you're going to be a pro, and I think a lot of you consider yourselves aspiring pros, or you want to be pros at what you do, understand that you better learn what the hell the job is. Again, and the easiest way to learn what the job is to go talk to somebody who already has a job so they can tell you, hey, here's how it really goes down here. Okay, I know this is what you thought it was. This is what it looked like in the brochure and on the website, but let me tell you how it really goes, because it ain't that. Because if it was that, then everybody would have this job. And if that's all it took, then it'd be a very easy job. It ain't as easy as it looks. Now, you need to find out the part that ain't easy that they're not telling you about. So you got to understand what the job is. I strongly suggest, again, before you go all in on any industry, that you find out, because you don't want to get in and then find out that it's different than what you thought it was, and you've already got the sunk cost of time investment, maybe money investment, etc. Do your homework up front. Remember, professionals do our homework. And if you plan on being a professional, you should start doing your homework now. The best way to do your homework is talk to someone who's already in the game. Someone who can tell you exactly what the job is, exactly how the job works. Because I guarantee you, what they tell you is going to be a lot different than what you thought. That I can guarantee. It doesn't matter what profession we're talking. Any of you right now who has a job at what, any of you has a job or a career, let's say a career at what you do, whatever it is, can we agree that your career looks and seems to be one thing when someone who doesn't know the work is looking at you? But if they were to actually sit with you and watch you do the job for an entire day, they would realize very quickly that the work is not even what they thought it was. Is this true or not? All of you listening to this, any of you has a career at what you do. Is it true that if somebody sat and watched you all day, that they would get a completely different impression of what your job really is as opposed to what you know most people think it is? Of course they would. So those people, when you talk to someone who's on the inside, all right, they'll tell you what goes on that you cannot know or appreciate from the outside. And again, the best way is talking to someone who's already there. Even talk to somebody who's been inside and they decide to get out. Someone who's on the inside and it just wasn't working out, they decide to go elsewhere. There's a reason why. They'll both tell you about the same things. The only difference is one of them responded in a way that they stayed in the job. Another one responded in a way that they got out the job. And it doesn't make either one of them right or wrong. Everything ain't for everybody. All right, there are pro athletes that, let me back up before I even get into the sports. I talked to people who went to law school, and in the middle of law school, they decided, okay, I don't want to be a lawyer. They thought they wanted to be a lawyer because they were looking at the career prospects and basically the steady income that comes with being a lawyer. And you basically set yourself up with a job where you know there's always going to be money coming in. This is something I've talked about before. If you want to have a job where you know there'll always be money coming in, go work in the legal system, because there's always some idiot ending up in the legal system, or there's always somebody just suing somebody to pull people in the legal system. There's always money to be made. So if you want to guarantee yourself an income, go into the medical space, go into the legal space, go into engineering. Those three places, there will always be money to be made. And some people go into those spaces because they want to guarantee themselves a job and guarantee themselves a career path that they know there's always going to be money to be made in. The problem is some people, once they get in it and start to see what it's like, they're like, I don't really want to do this. I've heard of it. I've heard it from many people. I've heard people who went to law school, got a law degree, but never actually went and practiced law because they realized, okay, I don't really want to do this shit. In the sports world, I know people, well, first of all, I use myself as an example as a person who realized what the job was in sports. I realized that I not only could do it, but I enjoyed doing the job. I wrote a whole book on the concept. It's called The Third Day. If you're watching on videos, that book right over my shoulder right there, you can get a free copy of it by going to thirddaybook.com. That's all spelled out, thirddaybook.com. The book is all about how you show up and give your best effort on days when you least feel like it. That is required when you play sports. I've had athletes reach out to me, athletes who came from stronger pedigrees than from which I came. I came from a Division III college. I've had athletes who come out of Division I colleges sending me emails and direct messages, and I've had direct conversations with these gentlemen and ladies telling me, hey, Dre, I have played basketball all up to this point. I'm at this college and I have I have this pedigree and I have these opportunities to go play pro, but I'm not quite sure I even want to play pro. Now, you might be wondering, how does a player even know they don't want to play pro when they haven't even seen the inside yet? Well, good news is in sports, it's not like this in every profession, but in sports, you have a pretty good idea of what the job is like at the college level, and at the pro level, it's just maximized, it's multiplied, and now there's money involved, so there's even more pressure. That's why it changes in sports. You play a team sport like basketball, you know what it is. 5 days a week you're practicing, you might have games twice a week, And that's the job, those practices. And you got the off-season training, you got the workouts, et cetera, et cetera. At the pro level, you're doing the exact same thing. Only thing is now they're paying you for it. So now there's more expectation for you to play well. You don't play well there, you get fired. You don't play well in college, you just lose the game. And I've had athletes, again, from major Division I programs telling me, I don't know if this basketball thing is for me. I mean, I like basketball and it's been great, but I'm not sure I really want to play basketball at the pro level. I want to go do some other things. And I've seen them go do other things, play maybe a year or two pro, and they voluntarily get out and go do something else because they didn't want to do that grind. They didn't want that job. They wanted a different job. And we're going to get to that in the third point in a second. But people who stay in and people who get out, they'll all tell you the same things. The difference is how they responded to it. You got to decide, okay, which one of these can I do? The person who stayed in, am I willing to do that? Am I willing to adjust the way that they adjust it? Am I willing to live the way that they decided to live to make it work? Or am I more in the mindset of the person who got out? Maybe I should never not even get in the first place. Again, all the training and the practices is the job in sports. The most successful players are the ones who find the discipline to do those things and do the grunt work and do it at a high level. You don't have to like it. I enjoyed it. But some people don't enjoy it, but they find a way to get through it anyway. All right? As long as you do it, then you can stay in the game. Again, others who may have the talent but don't have the discipline, they often flame out way earlier than they should. I saw that happen a lot in the sports world. People with a lot more talent, even more than me, who never got to the levels that I got to simply because they didn't have the discipline to do the work, despite the fact they had a whole lot of talent. Because even at the pro level, if you have talent but no discipline, you're not going to go but so far. Because at the pro level, everybody has talent. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is master the job. Number 3, pick an industry in which you are okay with the job and you are willing to do it on a consistent basis throughout however long your career may be. Pick a job in an industry or an industry in which you're okay with whatever the job is. And you can do it consistently throughout however long you plan on being in the game. All right, one thing that a lot of naive people fall victim to, especially in today's era where people are getting their information from the internet and that information may or may not be accurate, you fall victim into believing that there is some perfect scenario or situation in which there is no job that you would have to do. And if you pick the right industry, you can completely avoid any job. All right, this is a false idea and you have been sold a hill of beans if you think that this is possible. Any job you get, there's some bullshit you got to deal with. There's a shit sandwich that you have to eat. I talked about this in episode, I believe it was episode 1616, but let me make sure. It's episode 1663. What is your favorite flavor of shit sandwich? Every job has a shit sandwich. Every industry, there's a shit sandwich you have to eat if you're going to compete in that industry, if you're going to succeed in that industry. And a lot of people seem to be thinking that there's a way you can avoid it. You cannot avoid it. You decide to be a streamer on the internet. Some of you may have kids who are 16, 17. They're telling you, mom or dad, I want to be a TikTok streamer or a YouTube streamer. I want to stream on Twitch. And that's going to be my full-time job because their favorite streamers are allegedly making $10,000 a week on streaming themselves playing video games and sitting in a chair just talking in their bedroom. And hey, is it possible? Yes, it is. Here's what they're not telling you is that there's a job to that. The job is once you decide you're a full-time streamer, guess what? You're a full-time fucking streamer. And you know what that means? You got to stream every fucking day all the time. And if you stop streaming, guess what else stops? The money. See, they don't tell you that part until you get in. And you're like, damn, I don't feel like streaming today. Okay, well, you don't feel like making money today either because you ain't making no money if you don't get on that damn camera. All right, so what we doing? See, they don't tell you that from the outside looking in. But then when you get in, you realize, oh, damn, this ain't as exciting as it looks. And damn, not everybody makes $10,000 a week. Some people only make $100 a week. Or how am I going to pay my bills? How am I ever going to move out of my parents' house? Oh, it ain't as glamorous as it looked. You better find out what the job is. This is a juvenile, amateur way of thinking that you can avoid the job. You cannot. Find out what it is. I guarantee you there is one, no matter what industry you name. Number one hallmark of a professional, ladies and gentlemen, is discipline. Discipline is reflected in consistency, preparation, and predictable behavior and performance. Discipline is reflected in consistency, preparation, and predictable behavior and performance. These things that I just mentioned are not talents. They are not innate abilities. They are the byproduct of conscious and intentional choices that follow conscious and intentional processes. The good thing about them is that you don't need to be talented at all to put them to work in your own life. You may need some talent to get in the game, but you don't need talent to be disciplined. You don't need talent to show up every day and do the job. Once you're in, discipline is a differentiating factor. If you have the talent to get in, then your discipline is what keeps you in. That's the game. Let's recap today's class, which is mastering the job. Again, this is understanding the key things that allow a pro to be a pro. Number one, what's the job? Job is all the stuff that the casual observer does not quite grasp or understand about a profession. And these are the things that make the job make it a job. It makes the career into a job, because job means that sometimes you got to go do something that you don't really feel like doing. It's where the work is actually happening. Number two, if you're going to be a professional at what you do, you better find out what the job is in any industry before you get into it. Talk to some people who are already on the inside or people who have been on the inside. They'll tell you exactly what it is. Then you decide whether or not you're okay with it. And number three, pick an industry in which you are okay with the job and you are willing to do that job on a consistent basis throughout the length of what you expect to be your career. Because I guarantee you, when you decide to get out, it's often going to be the job that gets you out. It's not the career itself that you get tired of. Now, Beyonce doesn't get tired of probably doing shows and dancing around and having 20,000 people clap and scream her name. What she gets tired of is all that damn choreography she got to do just to do one show. That's what she gets tired of. She gets tired of recording all those damn songs that don't even come out because she don't like any of them. That's the part that runs you out of the game. It's the job that runs you out. It's not the glamorous show part that runs you out of the game. All right, Warriors don't get out of the game because they're tired of arguing in court and having their you can't handle the truth moment. That's not the part they get tired of. They get tired of filing all the fucking paperwork and all this back and forth and all these motions that they got to file. That's the part that gets them out of the game. So you better find out what the game is. What game are you willing to play? What job are you willing to do? And that's where you plant your flag. Speaking of all this, at Work on Your Game University, you need mindset, strategy, and systems for execution so we can produce real results no matter what career you're in, no matter what business you're in, no matter what aim you're going for. And the biggest challenge I find most entrepreneurs have, most professionals have, is a lack of clarity on their mindset, on their strategy, on their systems, on what they're executing and what results you're after. Good news is I can get you clear on all those things in one conversation. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Let's get that out the way, and then we take the next step forward. Work on your game. Dre, all